So today I'm going to show you exactly how to test ads in 2024 right now. I'm going to break down exactly what this looks like inside the ad account, how you run it, and also what to test, and more specifically, what to test next for you to go and make as much money as quickly as possible. But if you don't have an offer, you don't really have a business. So first we need to get that nailed down so we're actually able to do this. And the way that I like to think about this is take a very methodical, scientific approach to actually testing this, right? Now, what we essentially want to do is take the pain points, the outcomes, the goals, the desires, the fears of any given market and turn that into specific marketing messages to go and test our angles. Okay, so let's take a typical growth-based business, right? If I'm coming to you and say, I want to grow your business, there's a few different ways you can phrase that. Okay, so it could be based on like revenue increase, right? That's an obvious one. Could also be based on, and that could be, MRR or ARR. Then you also have, it could be high ticket clients. That could be the outcome that they want. If you're in coaching, consulting, for example, that's a typical one. Then you also have, like, for example, it could be like demo calls or like appointments or qualified calls. All right. Then it could be a pain-based one. So it may be that right now people are struggling and relying on word of mouth and referrals. And then you've got another one where it could be specifically you want to help product-based founders. You want people who have great products, but you don't want to help people. You want to help those people who have great products but actually don't have great marketing, right? So it could be that you go after product-based founders. And essentially with these 5 angles, you then go and take that and build these kind of offer statements. And these are the things we're really going to be testing, right? So as an example, it could be, and use this framework of, we help niche get outcome in time frame, guaranteed using this mechanism or without this pain points. And you just basically want to use these angles and plug it into that. So an example of that is, we help, let's say agency owners add 10K a month MRR. That is now one angle we can go and test. The same way, you can just rephrase that, and you can have that for high ticket clients of, we help agency owners get 5 new high ticket clients. And then what we do, once we have all of these written down, is we're going to use that inside of a testing environment to tell us and allow Facebook to tell us what we should be running first, okay? So all you have to do, take 5 different pain points, angles, whatever, and create the actual angles that we're going to send out to the market. And we're going to take every single one of those angles and turn it into an ad that we're going to test. And when we do that, what ends up happening is Facebook is going to distribute those angles across the network of people that we put it in front of. And as a result, you're going to have some angles that, necessarily don't work. They just don't hit. But you will eventually and pretty quickly find an angle that's going to be your big winner, right? So you have this pizza looking thing here that essentially means that you're going to test 5, 10 different angles, and 9 of them aren't going to work. But that one that is going to work is going to be the thing that goes and makes you all the money that you actually want. And you really only need 1 or 2 angles to go make an awful lot of money with Facebook. And that's what I want to show you here how to do, okay? So now we have the foundational understanding principle of it. This is what it looks like from a campaign setup perspective, okay? So what you actually do is you have one campaign as your main initial campaign. And within that, you basically want to separate it into 3 different ad sets. Because initially, what we want to do is, while we're testing the angles, we also want to give Facebook the best chance of success, which means in those ad sets, what we need to change is the audience itself. Now, the way that I like to set this up is I like to use a broad audience in one. That broad audience is basically demographic. So it's age, gender, location. Then we have the second one, which is your lookalike. Now, lookalike is essentially where you give Facebook a list of customers, and Facebook is then going to take that list, use all of the 52,000 points of data that it has on the people like me and you on Facebook to find other people who are within a 1% variance of the list that we gave it to. And this is an extremely powerful thing that we can do if you already have a list of calls, qualified calls, sales on customers themselves, or maybe even leads, for example. And then we also have your interest base. And this has been around for forever, the interest base, but it's still very strong if you use an interest stack where you kind of just put everything together and group it in and allow Facebook to go figure it out. So once we have this in place, that means that we're going to be testing 3 different audiences. And within that, then what we set up is we set up the different angles, okay? So we're gonna have 5 different angles because that's what we wrote up here, right? We have the revenue angle, we have the high ticket angle, we have the demo, we're relying on word of mouth, and we have the product-based angle, okay? So what we do from here is we put each of these angles into the ad sets, and we're just testing initially only these 2 angles, which means most of the ads need to be like almost identical apart from the angle. That way we're just narrowing down the variables that actually matter to the offer first. And once we get the offer, then we can start testing the hooks and the bodies and everything else, because it's secondary. We want to focus on the biggest points of leverage, which initially are the angle and the offer that we're actually putting out to the market and making sure we have that market message match. Okay, what we do here is we just set the budget to run. Now, to be clear, your budget is a business question. It depends how much you're comfortable with, what your risk tolerance is, how much you can put into this, and how much you're willing to put into it. Now, for us, I suggest at a minimum you use $100 a day for this test. I really recommend at least $300 a day, and that's $100 per ad set. That's going to give you just enough budget to actually test this effectively, but ultimately this comes down to you, right? Once we've done that, we're really just going to sit back and let Facebook do its thing. We're going to let Facebook figure out, you know, I want to put the ad here, and we're going to send it to this audience, and we're just going to wait and see what the results look like. Now, to judge this, we really want to focus specifically on the cost per call. And the reason being is this is an early indicator of the success that's going to come, because ultimately we want to work on cash collected, how much money we've made, etc. But until we actually, like, if we have a sales cycle length of a month in most like B2B agencies, all this kind of stuff, there's a longer sales cycle length, which means you would have to run ads for a month straight just to know if you're going to have any money coming over the line. So what I like to do is use the earliest possible indicator that actually makes sense. Now, this is specifically for a call funnel, but like if you're running a webinar funnel, it would be cost per lead. If you're running e-commerce, it's going to be cost per sale. If you're running a low ticket, it's going to be cost per sale, right? So you want to optimize for the earliest point of feedback that you can get that's actually going to help you, right? So for us, doing a call funnel would be cost per call, and I'm specifically looking really for a cost per call of below $300 tells me I'm onto something, right? Now, it's not the be all or end all. Like I said, it's going to be, you know, what's the quality like? Are they showing up? How much is actually converting into cash, and how much am I making? But initially, if I'm looking at this and the cost per call is below 300, I know I'm in a pretty good place, right? So once I've given Facebook enough budget to go and test this, and really the testing budget is double what the cost per call is going to be. So if you spent $600 on ad set, you know, that's this broad ad set, that's when you know you've started to have enough budget to actually start making these decisions, right? So let's say we've spent the $600 on each of these 3 ad sets, right? Now what we do is we want to go in and analyze those results. And we're going to go in, you're going to see, you know, this angle 5, this didn't work. This angle 1, this didn't work. And angle 4, this also didn't work. But angle 2 and angle 3, they worked very well, and they actually had a great cost per call. They're lower and under KPI, and that we can see promise in them. And that means now we've got the first step to having a truly validated offer. And there's no one more part to this that's going to actually solidify that market message match, but you made a good progress into actually getting this right. And this is going to set up the rest of your marketing and allow you to scale way further from having this in place. Let me just jump in and show you what this looks like inside of an ad account and how you actually go and structure this as well. All right, so we're inside one of my second ad accounts now. I just want to show you how you technically set this up, okay? So just go ahead to the campaign section, click create, go down to leads, and then go ahead and select manual lead campaign. And then all you really want to do, come in, when I'm testing, will set an ad set budget. This allows me to have more control over the split. So for example, in that campaign structure I just set up, I'll use an ad set budget and do $100 per ad set initially. Go and set that. From here, you just want to go set website as the conversion location, because we're obviously going to be using a call funnel. Come down here, select the pixel that we're running it on, and has it all tracked up. And big thing, do not underestimate the importance of a pixel, okay? Now go set the conversion event. For us, it's going to be scheduled, because that's obviously a call booked in the calendar. Now from here, what I do, at ad set level, I will set the budget, like I said, to $100 per day. I will launch the campaign at midnight. Every single campaign I ever launch is going to be at midnight. The reason being, it distributes the Facebook spend on that first day a little bit better, and I'm not wasting any money whatsoever. Okay. Then from an audience perspective, like I said, I'm going to be using a broad, an interest, and a lookalike. So to set that up, all I do is go and set the location that I want to target. So for me, we focus on United States. Then we're going to go in down here. We're going to set the minimum age. We typically only work with people 25 and above. And then we will also come down to this next section, which is the Advantage Plus audience. I change this and I use the original, okay? Like I said, from here we have all genders, and that would be your broad audience. That's how simple the broad audience is set up. Nothing else you need to do there. And from a placement perspective, when I'm working on a smaller budget, I set the placements myself. So I don't use the Advantage Plus. I will use the manual placements because I want to force Facebook to spend only where I actually want it to spend, which is going to be the feed, it's going to be the stories, and it's going to be the reel section, okay? Everything else I like to get rid of because it's just not as profitable for me and for my business, and it doesn't make sense for us to continue to actually run that, okay? Now, once we have that set up, we're good to go at an ad set level, and then we come into an ad level, okay? So to do this, what you want to do is same thing. We just now at an ad level, what we want to do is come in, we're going to have create ad, manual upload, and then turn off the multi-advertiser ads. Now at an ad level, what you want to do is come in and very simply set up one individual ad per angle that we're running. So when it comes to setting this up, it's very simple. Come in, add the image or video, go ahead and click next and just set that up into there. Set whatever headline and primary text you have. If you're at a $100 a day budget, I don't set up multiple primary text or headlines. If you've got a bigger budget, I recommend adding headlines or primary text as well, just to give Facebook a little bit more data to work with. But other than that, I like to minimize everything and all the variables that I'm testing at any given point. Just go put in the website URL as well that you're going to be using this for, and make sure you have any URL parameters for tracking obviously set up. And then you do that for every single angle, okay? And I just make a note as well when you're naming this of the individual angles that you're actually going to be running, so you can track this better in post. And that's all it really takes to go set up this testing campaign, okay? Now let me dive back in and show you how to set up the next campaign once you have that initial feedback from Meta itself. Now at this point, we have early signs of what we should be using and doubling down into, but we haven't quite got what I call the majority hook, which is where you're going to capture the 80% of the market. So what we want to do is actually fine tune that initial messaging one layer deeper to really make sure we've got exactly what's hitting with our audience, okay? So let me show you exactly what this looks like to set up. Now, as discussed, at this point, we found out that angle 2 and angle 3 were extremely profitable for us. Okay, and this is where the results did well, the cost per call was in line, and exactly really hitting the metrics that we wanted, okay? Remember, high ticket clients is that angle 2, and sales calls is angle 3. So now what we want to do is take from those angles that actually won and come up with additional variations of that. And at this point, I really like to emphasize and focus specifically on the copy itself. And I'm really looking to maximize the output, the claims, the benefits, minimize the effort that it's going to take, and simplify the wording and the process around it as well to make it feel more achievable, okay? So I would take the initial angle and I would spit out additional variations. And I would do this by specifically focusing on, can I maximize the benefits and the outcomes? Can I minimize the effort? And can I also make it simpler? Can I simplify the language, the messaging to make it seem more achievable? So as an example of this, let's take the sales calls one, right? I might change the sales calls from being 30 calls in 90 days to being, 30 demo calls rather than sales calls. That might, in specific markets, that might make a massive difference. For example, it could be inquiries, it could be demo calls, it could be sales calls, it could be appointments, it could be walk-ins. There's so many different variations of this that depend going from market to market. And by switching that and changing it to be the thing that your market actually cares about, you're more likely to increase the results that you're going to get. Okay, so it might be 30 demo calls in 90 days. I might also change it to enlarge the claim. So I could just go to 50 demo calls and see if that makes a difference, right? Or it could be that I actually reduce the time frame on this. So it could be 10 demo calls or sales calls in 30 days and reduce how long it seems. Or I could reduce the effort by adding a done for you. So it's like 30 sales calls in 90 days, done for you. Or it could be that I actually add in another angle. So for example, before we had in angle 4, relying on word of mouth. I know that didn't necessarily work on its own, but I might try and mix the angles here to see if that improves it as well. So like if you're tired of relying on word of mouth, let us get you 30 sales calls in the next 90 days. Do you see how you can take one angle and spin it up in so many different ways? And what you're doing here is you're really trying to dig down into the messaging to find the thing that actually matters for your audience. Now, this is obviously a growth-based offer that I'm running here, but this happens with whatever offer you are running. You can take the messaging, dive deeper, and figure out the thing that's going to be your most profitable angle. And what you should find is that when you have this, one of those angles is probably going to make at least 50% of the market for you, just one of them. So you can imagine if you can get 2 or 3 different angles, you can take like 75%, 80% of the market very, very quickly. Now, the way that we actually set this up inside of the Facebook ad account is going to be very simple, right? So currently we have this one campaign, right? And this campaign is what we set up to find those initial angles. Now what we want to do is we want to create our second campaign. So this second campaign, now from the results we found, we should have seen that one of these audiences was your winning audience, okay? Now, let's just presume for this one, it's the interest audience that seemed to have the best results, okay? Now what we do is in this second testing campaign, we want to set up as many ad sets as there were winning angles. So for us, we have 2 winning angles. We're going to use the interest audience for both ad sets. So we're keeping the audience the same now just to try and give the best chance of success with these ads. And then what we want to do is take the angles that we have and we're going to actually set up 5 new ad angles inside of this campaign. So we take all these additional angles that we just made, all these tweaks to our offer, and we will set them up as additional offers and additional angles to try and, again, fine-tune that messaging, see which one's going to work the best, right? And you do that for both angle 2 and angle 3, okay? That's going to allow us to do is, again, when we launch these campaigns, we're basically saying to Facebook, go tell us what's going to be the most profitable one for us. And it's just repeating the exact same process. So it's the same ad account structure that I showed you previously. You just go into Facebook, create one campaign, 2 ad sets, and just all we're changing is the ads, and that is it. Now, one important caveat to this, you do want to move the winning ad into these ad sets as well. That way we have a baseline ad that we're competing against to see if we beat it. And the same thing, we just get to sit back, we get to relax, we get to wait for Facebook to tell us what's going to be the most profitable for us. And what you're going to see, again, when you launch a campaign like this, is that typically, let's say, one of these ads or 2 of these ads are going to be massive performers and are going to make you a lot of money in the long run. And the way that we judge that is, again, based on the KPI of the cost per call initially, until we start to see that cash come in when we're able to allow the ads to run for a couple months on end and obviously have that sales cycle length actually complete. And now, once you know this, not only are those ads going to be the ones that make you the most money, but it's also the thing that your audience is going to connect with the most and give you as much attention as possible, okay? And we can take these ads and we will be able to run them for a long period of time. But I mean, like this initial campaign, just like this, you can run that for months on end. I have a guy who I've been working with, and we haven't refreshed his ad in 6 months because that one ad is just making a 24x return on ads. It's like, you don't need to spend all your time there. You can actually focus on other parts of the business when you get this right, because you just get the market message match correct. Now, what you'll find is those ads that have got a good KPI of your cost per call are going to be the ones that make you the most money. And I just let those run for as long as possible. I will just those two angles, I'll just continue to increase the spend. And I will do that until I start to see things kind of fatigue, the cost per call start to creep up, etc. And during this process, one of the most important things is like, what do you do next? Like, what do you do with these validated offers? How do you test next? What's the next ad that you should actually be running? And this is where campaign 3 comes in. So typically is once I have that second campaign up and running, and I'm allowing that to spend, I will then go away and start working on the next creative batch, because you don't want to just wait until the ad stops working to then get other ads up. That's like, it's terrible practice for you, and it's actually makes you at risk as a business. So this is where this campaign 3 comes in. And essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of the winners that we've had, and I'm going to set that up in a interest-based winning ad set. And it's interest because, remember, our best audience is an interest audience, okay? So we will set up a winning ad set, and we will add all of these ads that have won into here, okay? And we will have as many winners as that we've found so far that are in line with our KPI, as many as it is, okay? And we're gonna move that into here. Now here we have a second ad set as well, and this is gonna be our testing ad set. And in here, I want to add as many ads as I'm actually able to go and test at one time based on the budget. So for example, if I have $1,000 a day budget, I'll maybe test 10 ads inside of this ad set, okay? And in this, I will go and I will take all of those winning ads and I will go create new variations of those ads. I will also go look at all of my competitors' ads. And I will literally, like if I don't even know who the competitors are, let's say I'm doing like client research, I will just go on my phone, create a TikTok account, and I will scroll and engage with all of the content of my exact competitors and just let Facebook just show me everything that's going out. What are they doing? What are they saying? What's the messaging? And I will take the ads that they've been running and I'll look at their ads library and I'll go down to the bottom ads and I'll be like, okay, cool. These ones have been running for a while. Let's test these. Or this hook has been running on 10 different ads. Let's test this hook, right? And I will go and take their best ads and I will use that to come up with new ads as well. And then as well, I will go listen to sales calls. I'll jump on sales calls myself. I will speak with my sales manager and I will listen to all of the insights. It's probably one of the best ways for me to actually go and get new insights and new ads is to hear what my customers are exactly saying and turn that into an ad, turn that problem into an ad. And once we do this, it's very, very easy to come up with basically unlimited ads at this point that you can go and test, because you already have a winning ad that you know is going to work, but you also have other sources that you can just go and tap into to go and create more ads. But one thing I will say about this testing ground is I will typically test around 80% on my winning ads. Okay, so once I've found these winning ads, I will go and I will create tons of different variations of those ads. That could be changing editing style. It could be changing the claims. It could be changing who's recording it. Is it going to be an image versus video? Is it going to be, can it be done on a whiteboard or a presentation, or can we change things up a bit? Should it be a raw handheld face the camera kind of thing? Or is it going to be, sit down talking as if we're on a call like this, right? What is that going to look like, and how can I spin it up and really milk those winners to maximize how much money I'm going to get out of it, while also creating and testing new angles, new offers, new ideas in this testing campaign to try and beat that control group. And when we set this up correctly, essentially what's going to happen is you're going to allow Facebook to continue to have these winners that they're just going to spend money on consistently, and you're going to get consistent ROI. But then that testing ground that you have there, that's going to allow you to basically continue to cycle through ads to make sure you always have the best ads and you never really have that fatigue. Now, one big caveat to this is that third campaign, I don't then go and set up a fourth campaign, a fifth campaign extremely quickly. I'm trying to let the winners ride for as long as possible. One of the biggest lessons I found is just don't mess with Facebook when you have something that's working. Like if you have an ad or a couple ads or 3 ads that are working, make hay while the sun shines. Like if it's not broke, don't fix it. Like it's so painfully obvious, but I see it over and over again. And this is why you can actually spend very little time inside the ad account now, because you can just set up campaigns like this that allow everything to run for you and you don't really need to spend too much time on it. Now, as well, once you have these campaigns up, what you want to do is you actually want to turn off those original campaigns. So now, for example, with this campaign 3, when we have this set up, once this starts to perform well, once it's in KPI, we have some consistency, I will go and turn campaign 2 off, and I will then reallocate that budget to campaign 3 and start scaling up campaign 3. And this is how I do it constantly. So I'm really minimizing and reducing the amount of ads that we have inside of an ad account at any given times, because that account simplification allows Facebook to get fed with very clean data that really pushes it and allows it to consistently get results at scale over time. Where when you have a messy ad account, you have lots of campaigns up at once, it starts to play with the data and impact the pixel a little bit too much for me, and it creates a lot of instability that I found over the last year. And again, same thing, as soon as campaign 3 launches, I'm starting to work on campaign 4. And I'm thinking, okay, well, what are the new tests that I can make that could potentially beat my controls? And I will just go and make as many ads as I possibly can to determine which 8 or 10 ads I'm actually going to run and test. Because I could have 50, 60 different ads that I make, but it doesn't mean I have the budget to actually go and test it. So I will go through all of these ads and I'll be like, okay, which ones turned out the best? Which ones do I think have the highest probability of success? Which ones, are actually going to be the ones that are going to set me up for scale, that are going to be completely different tests compared to what I'm doing now, or give me the highest chance of actually making money. And I will go and take those and I will filter out the ones that I think are great, and I will actually go and put those in the testing environment to go and run that again. And that's literally all I will do. And I will continue to repeat that campaign structure and pattern time and time again until I find consistent winning ads that absolutely crush it. And when I've got an ad that is crushing it, I switch my entire focus over to the back end of the funnel, because I will take these winning ads and I will extrapolate that out over the funnel, over the sales letter, over the messaging, over the sales call. Because that one messaging is obviously what is resonating at scale, and I will use that throughout the entire sales process to maximize the results that I'm going to get. And look, the ad level is really just the tip of the iceberg to making ads actually work. The real money is in the back end optimization. So if you want to know exactly what has worked for me on the back end, everything from the funnel, the sales letter, the pre-call, really every single metric that you need to be influencing to actually go and make a lot of money with a cool funnel, then go ahead, check out that video where I break everything down step by step and exactly the top 3 things that work for me for every single level when it comes to ads.